Hello, I'm Alex Davidson. I'm here with the Hobby Quest, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build the Twin Sky. This is a biplane, which is actually the first type of airplane that was ever built. This was the same plane that the Wright brothers built for the first time in order to try out flying. And almost every plane for the first few years of flight was a biplane, just like this. So to build this plane, what we're going to be using is a set of instant glue. This is, of course, only for the instructor, not for the kids. And the other thing we're going to need is the Elmer's glue. Now, the Elmer's glue, this one, there's actually a couple different ways to do it. I usually use the sandpaper with it, and I'll explain how the sandpaper comes into play later on during the build process. But these are all the things that we're going to need in order to build this airplane. So, in the Twin Sky, what we're going to find is everything that you see here. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the packaging. That gets taken care of, thrown in the garbage. Now, inside we're going to find the fuselage, the elevators, the rudder, these two brackets, and two wings, just like this. So, this is everything that we're going to find inside of our aircraft. So with all of our parts out like this, the first thing we do is we show the kids that we're going to start out with the fuselage. This is the first part that we're going to be starting out on. This is, of course, the main part of the whole plane. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the solid wing. You're going to notice that the two wings are a little bit different. This one has a cut in it. This one does not. This is the first one that we start out with. So on the wing, you can see that we have the flaps and the ailerons. These, of course, face back on the airplane. We don't want these facing forward, or else they're not going to work very well. We always put these toward the back. So with the flaps and ailerons toward the back, I'm going to very, very carefully push this in, just like that, and then we pull it through. We don't want to push it because that's going to make things like, it's going to put a lot of tension through the plane, and it could potentially snap it. So we're going to pull it through just like this, just wiggling it. We're not going to put too much tension on it. We just want to make it go in nice and smooth, just like that. And once it's in the center, that's good to go. So with this one like that, what we do next is we take one of our brackets and we slide it right over one of the wings. Now, I usually like to slide this all the way down to about halfway between the flap and the aileron. That way, it has a good amount of distance between the body of it toward that, so it has a lot of grip. So next, we take the top wing, that's the one with the cut in it, and we slowly push it through just like this. Now this one, you can't quite snap it into place. You actually have to slide it all the way through. So of course, we're going to bring that up to the halfway point as well. It's a good marker between the two to show where it is. Now, one thing I want to point out, the reason why I put it like that is because if we put both of these on at first, that's going to make it very difficult to slide this in because now you have these two different parts. So it's easiest if you put it together just the way that I showed you right there. So now, we take this and we're going to slide it along both. So here we go. We're just going to inch that along. Oh, didn't quite catch on that side. There we are. So we're just going to inch that along both of these until it is at that point. And there we are. Now we have the two wings set in place. So once it's like this, what we're going to do is we're going to bring out the glue. This is where the kids are going to start gluing parts together. This is where the Elmer's glue and the sandpaper comes out. Now this, you could use any just regular piece of paper or anything like that, but this is readily in your toolbox and it's something that's easy to use. So what we do is, like if you have multiple tables around, anything like that, what we do is we go to each group of kids, we put the sandpaper down, and put a nice little dot of glue right on there. So it's a good amount, enough for all of the kids to be able to use. So once we have the glue for all of them, now we can put this into place. So first off, we're going to start with the elevators. Now, the thing that I always tell the kids is that this is much more delicate wood than the wings. We always start out with the wings because this is the thickest part. So this is the part that's the least easy to break. So now that they've done that, they're kind of familiar with the process of pushing the wood into place and all that. So now we can move on to the more delicate pieces. So first thing that we do is we take some of the glue and we're going to stick it right into place here along the sides. And then it's good to put it onto the elevator itself. So we're just going to put a little bit there on both sides. So now when we stick it into place, we're going to be very careful with this. We don't just want to shove it in. You want to show the kids that you put the first little bit in, and then you just slowly wiggle it in place. And that glue is going to set, and it's going to hold it all in place after it is dry. So next, we're going to move on to the rudder. Now this is the most delicate piece. You have to be really, really careful with this. I always tell the kids as we're building, please don't go ahead, please don't do anything before I've shown you, because this part is very, very easy to break if you're not really, really careful with it. So once you've shown that to the kids, that like this is really, really delicate, you want to take this, just put some glue right there, and right there. And then of course we're going to put it onto the plane itself. So we're going to put this right onto our little slot there. And once that's there, we're going to put this in. Here we are. Just like this. And we're going to be so careful with this. Just very, very slowly wobbling it back and forth. We don't want to put too much tension on it, or else that could break it. And once that's in place, there we go. Now that's good to go. And of course, once all of the kids are done with this, you want to collect all of these up, maybe scrape this off, put it, get it like into the garbage can or anything like that. And the sandpaper is still good to go. You can, once it's all dried up, you can put it back in your toolbox, and it is still a usable piece of sandpaper. So that's actually good to go. So I'm sure you're wondering what happens if the plane breaks, which is bound to happen. You know, sometimes the kids, they'll accidentally bump it into something else, or they'll push too hard when they're pushing it in. So what happens when it breaks? Well, let me show you. So when you're putting this together, you'll be pushing a little too hard, and a part snaps off. Oops. Well, the good thing is that this is very easy to fix. So what we want to do is we want to take our plastic from the wrapper. This is really great. The plastic does not stick, like the glue does not stick to this. So this is just something that's really good to work on when you're doing this, because if you do it straight on the table, you're going to end up getting this stuck to the table. It's going to leave some debris on it, and we don't want to be ruining any surfaces in our classroom. So we'll take it just like this. We'll grab our 3-second glue. Of course, you are the only one that touches this. Kids are not allowed to touch this at all. This is very, very strong, very strong glue. So we're going to take that and get this ready on hand. So with this on the plastic, we are going to just put a little dot of glue, making sure not to touch it. If you touch the glue, then it ends up kind of sticking to your fingers, and it really, really doesn't want to come off. So we're going to give it a quick little spray. And there we are. So that is how we fix it. And that actually goes for anything else. If anything else breaks on this, you can pretty much always use your glue with it in order to fix that. So we're going to put this back together, and we give this back to our student, and they are able to continue their work on the plane to put it all together. And that's how we fix it. So once we've gotten to this step, the next thing to do is to balance the plane. Now, the thing with balancing is that we can't do all of the students in the class all at once. Of course, we can only have one set of eyes. We can only watch one plane at a time. So one thing that's really good to do with the kids is that this is a very plain surface to work on. So in our toolbox, we have markers. And what we do is we have the kids start coloring the planes. They can color it however they want. They can make it look like a bumblebee or just anything they like. And as they're coloring it, what we do is we ask the kids to come up one at a time. And of course we tell them, you don't have to finish the coloring before you come up. You can continue coloring after it's been balanced. So they come up to you and you clear out a nice little area. So then what you do is you have the kid throw it, not yourself, because remember, the kid is the one that's going to be throwing it. So it's not only going to be balancing the plane, but it's also going to be teaching them how to throw it. And kids, for the most part, they always think, this is an airplane, I want to throw it upward, like that. But that's not how we fly an airplane. We never fly a plane like this. Instead, we teach them that you throw it straight. So we show them that you throw it straight, just like that. You give it a good push, and we see how it flies. If it is stalling, as in it's going forward and it's doing this kind of a thing and then dropping like that, that's called stalling. That means that the wings are too far forward. It has too much lift. So what we do if it's stalling is that we move it back a little bit. If we find that the plane is going down, that means that it doesn't have enough lift. That means that the wings are too far back. So we have the kids throw it a couple of times. We get a good balance of it. We make sure that it's in the right spot. Once we're confident that when the kid is throwing it, it's flying correctly, we then take our instant set glue. So once it's in place on the wings like that, holding it in place, now we're just going to make sure that we keep everything in place over here. The white glue, the Elmer stuff is really good, but we just want to give a little bit of extra reinforcement. We make sure we put the glue somewhere where there isn't like a big glob of the Elmers or anything like that. We just need a little bit. Now remember, the glue is a lot stronger than the wood, so we don't need to put a whole line of it or anything like that. We just need to put a little dot, and that'll hold it nicely in place. So once we've done that, we take our spray, we give it a little spray. Remember, we point it down so that it doesn't get in anyone's eyes or anything like that. And once we've done that, we give it back to the student. They can go back to their seat, they continue coloring it, and then we call the next student up. So once everyone is done with that, then you're ready to go out and fly. So the thing about this plane is that it is best to fly outdoors with it. This flies pretty far. But this can fly indoors as well if you have something like a gymnasium available to you. So if it's a rainy day or anything like that, this is a really great plane to fly if you have the space for it. This will usually last one session, which is about a half an hour of building and then about a half an hour of flying. So that's about what we should expect to get out of the Twinsky.